So, Andrew, when you get all this, and all of this, as I just want to emphasize, right, has not been seen before. So you actually called President Trump. You called him directly to ask him about this.
Yeah, we were not on the phone very long. I think our call was about 30 seconds or so. But when I asked him about the wedding photo, he said, he sort of paused for a second and then said, "You've got to be kidding me," before calling CNN fake news and then hanging up on me.
All right, folks. So breaking news, CNN has unearthed previously unpublished video footage and photographs of Donald Trump and Elon Musk because they were once best friends. And CNN went to ask Donald Trump about it, and the typically media-hungry Donald Trump instead panicked, threw a tantrum, called them fake news, and hung up on CNN. Really suspicious behavior from a person who has nothing to hide, even as he continues to work aggressively to suppress the release of the Epstein files. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several things to talk about here, several clips to play. We're going to play this full 3-minute segment on CNN between the host and the author of the report. We're going to take a look at the report, and we're also going to take a look at subsequent commentary from Maggie Haberman, who is perhaps the most well-connected mainstream reporter into Trump world, and she weighs in too, and again, it's not very good for Trump, but let's start with this.
Andrew Kaczynski of K-File is here with the new images of Trump and Epstein. And Andrew, I shared one of them there, but, so let's start with the one at Trump's wedding. I mean, this is a significant development.
Well, yeah, it is. Trump's wedding to Marla Maples in 1993 was dubbed the wedding of the century by the media at the time. And although we know that Trump and Epstein were friends during this period, this is really the first time that it's actually been reported that Trump invited Epstein to his wedding. This is, we should note, more than a decade before those first allegations of sex trafficking against Epstein. But as you know, Trump's relationship with Epstein has been under the microscope recently. Now, besides that one photo of Epstein entering the reception at the Plaza Hotel, we can also see him in the background of another picture. That's Howard Stern on the far right, along with Robin Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. And Epstein is behind them at the wedding, almost seeming to be photobombing them. We also found this photo.
It's a very sinister grin. And by the way, remember, I want you to remember the name Marla Maples. It was Donald Trump's wife, okay? Because it just occurred to me while this was going on. There's another clip involving the name Marla Maples and Donald Trump that should be omnipresent in everyone's mind because it's really disturbing. And I'll play that for you before we move on to the next clip. Just remember, Marla Maples, Marla Maples.
Photo from just a few months earlier, Donald Trump with 2 of his children talking to Jeffrey Epstein. That's at the opening of the Harley-Davidson Cafe in New York in October 1993. You can see Ivana there. She would have been just about to turn 12 years old in that photo.
Yeah, you can see Ivanka right there it looks like between Trump and Epstein. All right, these are never before seen photos, Andrew. I know you also found some video of Trump and Epstein that was from later of them talking that has also never surfaced before. What's that?
Well, that's right. This is from 6 years later in 1999. This video has never been seen before in this context. It shows Trump talking to Jeffrey Epstein just before models hit the runway at the Victoria's Secret fashion show in New York in 1999. You know, the only other video we've seen of the two men was 7 years before this. Trump is at the show with Melania, who is, of course, now First Lady, seated a few feet away from Epstein. You can see them chatting during the show as well. Allegations that Epstein sexually abused underage girls didn't surface until 2005, years after this video was shot.
Right, but this, of course, establishes them together and obviously very friendly in 1999. So, Andrew, when you get all this and all of this.
And so it leads into the first part of the clip that I showed you where she asks Andrew about his brief phone call with Donald Trump because he was pissed. Now, again, before we move on to this, before we hear from Maggie Haberman and look at the report itself, again, the Marla Maples thing, it just occurred to me because this clip, quite frankly, this clip is not on my mind as much as it should be. So I can't, I guess, expect it to be on the minds of everybody else as much as it should be. This was Donald Trump during a deposition in 2022 regarding the E. Jean Carroll case. Okay, E. Jean Carroll was the woman who accused Donald Trump of sexually abusing her, of raping her in an in a Bergdorf Goodman department store in the 90s. That case ended with Trump being found liable for sexual abuse and defamation. He had to pay her hundreds of millions of dollars, and on top of that, the presiding judge in that case clarified that what the jury found in that civil proceeding would be commonly referred to in the common parlance as rape. Okay, so I want you to remember this. Okay, so E. Jean Carroll. The reason I'm bringing this clip up is because in this clip, Trump is given a photo of E. Jean Carroll, and he confuses her for his ex-wife Marla Maples. The guy who said he not only doesn't know E. Jean Carroll, but also said she's not my type. No way. Not even interested in her anyway. Just like a really crass, gross thing to say. Actually, during a live video deposition, confuses her with his ex-wife, Marla Maples, at whose wedding Jeffrey Epstein attended.
I don't even know who the woman. Let's see. I don't know who. It's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No, that's
Here.
Carol.
Oh, is that?
The person you just pointed to was
I
E. Jean
see.
Carroll.
Who is that? Who is this?
Point. Your wife.
So again, in a stunning display of cognitive decline, totally undermining his own. She's not even my type, right? I mean, just an absolute collision course. He is confusing his ex-wife with the woman he sexually abused and defamed. That clip, but can you imagine if Joe Biden ever made such a gross, despicable, mistake like that in terms of confusing the two, set aside the underlying conduct? If a clip of Joe Biden confusing two people under circumstances like that went viral, you can bet, Jay Tapper would be writing a sequel to Original Sin. That in and of itself is an indictment of Trump's mental fitness for office, to say nothing of his criminal, disgusting behavior. But I digress. Since Marla Maples was mentioned, I felt the need to bring up that clip. Now, going back to these unearthed Epstein photos and footage, Maggie Haberman weighs in on Trump's reaction to it.
All right, a lot to go over with the New York Times White House correspondent Maggie Haberman. Maggie, nice to see you this evening. First, I just want to get your reaction to the K-File reporting we just saw. These photos of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump together, Jeffrey Epstein at the wedding to Marla Maples. You've reported on Donald Trump for a long time. Is it clear to you how close these men were?
Look, from people I've spoken to, they were fairly close. I understand that the president has since said that they didn't know each other well. In 2002, he told a magazine that, I think it was New York Magazine, that he was a terrific guy and praised him. They had a falling out not long after that. But, the photographs do show a story. They were around each other enough. They were around each other a decent amount. I don't know how one would measure the proximity. The issue for the president is that his supporters have been raising questions about Jeffrey Epstein for many, many years, and he himself did in the context of Bill Clinton at the beginning of 2015.
And again, Epstein famously referred to Trump in an interview with Michael Wolff as that they were best friends for about 10 years. So there you have it. Even Maggie Haberman's like, this is bullshit. Trump is flailing on this. The evidence shows quite clearly that they were, at least for a period of time, quite close. But let's look into the file. Exclusive. Newly discovered photos and videos shed fresh light on Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Newly uncovered archived video footage and photos reveal fresh details about Trump's past relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Photos from 1993 confirm for the first time that Epstein attended Trump's 1993 wedding to Marla Maples. Epstein's attendance at the ceremony at the Plaza Hotel was not widely known until now. In addition, footage from a 1999 Victoria's Secret fashion event in New York shows Trump and Epstein laughing and chatting together ahead of the runway event. CNN's K-File uncovered the raw footage during a review of archival video of Trump at events in the 1990s and 2000s. Trump and Epstein appeared together in at least one video among the limited archival footage reviewed. The new footage and photos, which have not been widely reported and predate any of Epstein's known legal issues, came amid renewed scrutiny of Trump's past relationship with Epstein. The Justice Department's recent decision not to release the long-promised files related to Epstein has spurred outrage in some corners of Trump's MAGA movement, where people developed an expectation for bombshell revelations into Epstein's alleged co-conspirators. In a brief call with CNN on Tuesday, Trump, when asked about the wedding photos, responded, quote, "You've got to be kidding me," before repeatedly calling CNN, quote, "fake news," and hanging up. In a statement to CNN, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung said, quote, "These are nothing more than out-of-context frame grabs of innocuous videos and pictures of widely attended events to disgustingly infer something nefarious. The fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep. This is nothing more than a continuation of the fake news stories concocted by the Democrats and the liberal media." Allegations that Epstein sexually abused underage girls first surfaced in 2005, leading to his arrest a year later. He was arrested again in 2019 on federal sex trafficking charges and later died in jail, fueling numerous conspiracy theories. The medical examiner ruled his death a suicide by hanging. A past relationship. Trump's relationship with Epstein dates back to the 1980s and included regular appearances at social events in Palm Beach and New York. No law enforcement authorities have ever accused Trump of wrongdoing in relation to Epstein. The two had a falling out in the mid-2000s, according to the Washington Post, stemming from a dispute over a high-profile real estate deal in Palm Beach. Before then, photos and video repeatedly showed the two were friendly. In 2019, NBC posted footage of a party showing Trump socializing with Epstein in 1992. A year later, in October 1993, high society photographer Dyfed Jones took photos at the opening of the Harley-Davidson Cafe in New York, capturing Trump and Epstein together. Quote, "There was this guy there who struck me, the way he was looking, and he gave me this card. It said Jeffrey Epstein, financial advisor." Jones recalled in an interview with CNN this week. Jones captured photos of Trump with his arm around his two young children as he stands next to Epstein, leaning on a railing. 2 months later, in December 1993, Jones was assigned by a media organization to photograph Trump's wedding. Among the photos he took was one of Epstein entering the event. Quote, "I must have recognized him going into the event," Jones said to CNN, adding he only took select photos of attendees he thought looked interesting. There again you have it. Trump and Marla Maples seen at their wedding. Jeffrey Epstein seen at Trump and Marla Maples' wedding. Quote, "I wish now I took more of him with Trump," he said. Quote, "I had the job of photographing the Trump wedding, so I stood with the press and photographed him. The image you have is from the contact sheet. The negatives were lost." Another photo captures Epstein at Trump's wedding, part of Life's archive that was reviewed by CNN. It shows Epstein smiling in the background, his head just visible between other guests and shock jock Howard Stern and Robin Leach of Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, who were taking a group picture. Life's collection of dozens of photos of Trump's wedding are available online through Google Images and Shutterstock, and a CNN review of photos found multiple photos with Epstein. And then it goes on to the fashion show as well. The 1999 fashion show wasn't the first Victoria's Secret event the pair attended together. 2 photos from Getty Images show Trump and Epstein appearing at a 1997 Angels party in New York, 2 years before the footage uncovered by CNN. Epstein's presence at the 1999 fashion show also reflects his long-standing ties to Leslie Wexner, the billionaire founder of Victoria's Secret parent company. Epstein managed Wexner's finances from 1987 to around 2007. The two later severed ties, and Wexner has said he was unaware of Epstein's alleged crimes during their association. In 2002, Trump was quoted in New York Magazine profile of Epstein, quote, "Jeffrey Epstein, international money man of mystery," describing him as, quote, "a terrific guy," saying he's known Epstein for 15 years. It's, quote, "It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." Trump flew on Epstein's jets between Palm Beach and New York at least 7 times, according to flight logs. In his 2004 book, Trump, How to Get Rich, Trump wrote about taking a call from a man he named, quote, "the mysterious Jeffrey." Quote, "As mysterious as Jeffrey is, he's one of the few people I know who can get by on just a first name. My staff never asked for a last name in his case, which in a way puts him up there with Elvis. Not that Elvis calls much these days, but you never know," Trump wrote. It's unclear if the, quote, "mysterious Jeffrey" is Epstein, and the White House did not address it in a comment to CNN. And again, it goes on to some more recent developments. But folks, there you go. Recently unearthed, previously unreported photos and video footage that Trump apparently finds so embarrassing that, again, he's typically eager to spar with the media, to be in front of the media, to take phone calls from the media. And instead, he took this phone call, freaked out, insulted CNN, and hung up and ran away effectively in panic. So there you have it. That sort of behavior is also not going to make this go away. It seems like the Epstein fire still burns in the consciousness of the American people, despite Trump's best efforts to put it out. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.